This could be their opportunity. Obviously, as we saw by the predictions, they were the very heavy underdog. Getting such a decisive win in a game 1 can completely turn around how the rest of the series looks.
That depends which predictions you're looking at, because when I had a look at Twitter, that told me that KC was easily going to win this series.
That is true. Well, no, it was close.
Yeah.
It was 55.
So it might just mean that our analysts need to wake up.
You didn't predict,
right?
did you?
True.
I did. It was. I predicted 3.
There was only Emily gave them a game, I believe, out of everyone on the broadcast.
Yeah.
Every other prediction was 3-0.
Yeah. And Flowers gave them a 5-0, which I don't even understand, which is
They were going to
crazy.
chrono break 2 games in which they would beat them again.
There we go. We just had to redo it and do it again, as we have actually dived into Champion Select already. Poppy, Sejuani, and the Ambessa are all banned away here, as blue side once again for HLE. One last ban to come through after the Vi and Yone have been taken away, and it will be Caliste. And so HLE, this time, Ezreal up and available, Varus up and available. Quite a few different things that we're going to see here in game number 2.
And particularly with the build that Viper went for, I do think it's really hard to have a consistent impact. There's a reason why we basically only see the AP Kai'Sa, as Skarner is unfortunately
this is one of the 2 extra games, maybe.
I think we're getting the Ivern, though.
Oh,
that to
true.
me is actually a really good answer. And Yike has won both his games on it. So to me, if you're leaving Skarner up, you have got to be laying a trap. Just like how we've seen Caliste, every time Caliste gets left up, it's into these really difficult to deal with ranged lanes. So to me, you could play an easy Ivern. It just feels like you slammed that down. Already saw him beat 2 teams with it. Correct me if I'm wrong, that was the game that actually beat HLE as well in the best of 3.
I'm pretty sure.
I think it was. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if he's going to be able to perform on it again. But this is just such a difficult pick to deal with. And it's been the key to them actually taking down both the LCK and the LPL representatives with it earlier.
I have to see what Vladi is going to play. His Talia, to me, was a big deal. I think that it really was one of the pivotal picks that actually allowed him to win team fights the way that they did. I think his map pressure was great as well. And even him getting picked off every now and then didn't really seem to phase him. As taking away the Ezreal from Viper is a good call. Although we are expecting a secondary AD carry because we are playing with the Ivern, right? So a mid lane AD carry is most likely here. Yeah, Cork and Triss both are open, and it's kind of hard, I think, for Hanwha to fully deny them unless they want to spend both bans on that, which obviously can complicate the rest of the pick and ban down the line.
Yeah. See where Zeka is going to go as far as this pick is concerned. I think leaving things up in the air could make some sense here, but we'll see. As the Gnar a consideration and a lock in here for Zeus. The pick away from Canna as well does make a fair bit of sense there, as both of them are huge Gnar fans.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at what Canna has played, his 3 most played this tournament are the Jace, the Ambessa, and the Gnar. So obviously Jace was played last game, so that's gone. They banned out Ambessa, they take away the Gnar, so they're kind of pushing him down as far as that tier list does go. It is going to be Leona as the grab here for Targamas. Didn't elect to go for it last game. Does lock it in this time around, which leads me to believe we're going to see a couple of these engage supports getting banned out here by KC. Try to pinch that pool here from Delight and really put him in a less comfortable spot.
Yep, the Rel banned away in the last game as well, is going to continue to do so. As Dandy, where are we banning this time? Solo lanes are all that's required here.
Yeah,
I think you just ban AD
Tristana,
mids.
Corki.
That's what I would do. Yeah.
Tristana, Corki, and Smolder?
Well, I don't think like Smolder to me is just really not worth it anymore. It's like if you can get a really easy matchup and just scale for free, but like the amount of time and effort you have to put into actually getting the 225 to even turn online doesn't feel like the payoff is really worth it anymore. And I do think that the laning phase is a lot weaker than the other two. So if it were me, I would do Corki Triss, and if he goes Smolder, I'm willing to deal with that.
Oh, the respect band there towards Zeka Zakali. I was kind of expecting something like a Braum ban. I do think that pick always is going to feel really obnoxious to play into when you're playing a melee support, but doesn't look like that is going to be the case.
And double AD carry.
Yeah, the Nautilus is still up, as it's the Victor instead, so Tristana does remain open. That would be the other AD mid pick that has still remained viable after all the changes that we had. Obviously, it dominated most of the meta last year.
And Canna can go towards
pick up,
a top laner if he'd like to. They can already see the Gnar, so just taking Aatrox or Jax, one of those things is fine. Camille is something that we were talking about a lot yesterday, but didn't actually lock that one in. Is going to be the Aatrox, though. So it feels like Canna and Zeus' champion pools are just getting drilled into
by both of them.
Very aggressively by both of them at the same time. It's kind of crazy. It's like their shared champion pool is what's getting attacked by the Fearless Draft, as Braum, considered by Delight, definitely a step away from a lot of the engage that he's been heading on. But you can see why they would like to pick it up. That is going to be locked in here. And now a Zeka pick, please.
What is Zeka going to go towards? A lot of the very comfortable blind picks have already been taken away. It's going to be the Aurora, which hasn't, I don't think, really felt that amazing this far in the tournament. You're also playing it into an Ivern and an Ezreal. And the Hanwha Live draft, I gotta say, not necessarily inspiring the most of confidence. Engage feels relatively lackluster. Obviously, you do have the Skarner, but Engage Braum, we all know, isn't the greatest. And then the kite back and the range on this comp of KC is a complete nuisance.
I feel like they have a giga draft gap.
Yeah,
I think so too.
I think their draft is so much better for KC. Aurora 1-6 so far in mid lane at first stand, really has not been a performant champion. Canna, obviously playing his Aatrox. You talked about kind of pinching these pools. He's been 2-0 so far on it. He beat CFO with it. Also got a win against TES, so has been looking pretty good on it. Definitely a comfort pick for him. And we'll see if HLE can really step up, but I do think it's a difficult draft to deal with. I mean, yeah, you have the Aurora who's kind of looking to set up these dives, but you're not really setting up the dives for anyone. It's a bit weird as far as like not having an obvious dive buddy. I mean, obviously, Zeus can go into the backline with him, but against Ivern and all of this potential peel, like the fear and the roots and everything coming out from Hwei, feels very, very difficult to actually get in the backline and burst someone down. Yeah, particularly if Hanwha Life fall behind or stay relatively even. I think the comp just gets so hard to play because, again, I think their engage is pretty lackluster. You're trying to engage into Ivern, Ezreal, and Hwei.
Yeah.
And
good luck.
They outrange you, so I do think KC going to be feeling pretty confident. Hanwha Life go to blue side 2 times in a row. The one thing that I do think that they can play towards is that bottom lane. That is a really strong 2v2 that we have there. The Varus as well as the Braum. If they don't leverage that, I think KC looking good.
Might be cooked. Let's dive onto the Rift for game number 2.
I really want to see how well they can actually track Yike, because both of his Ivern games, you just get through these camps so fast and you don't really have to interact with them. So it's always these early pressures that he's able to put on with it, whether he's going through mid or through bot. They need to keep eyes on him because Ivern just shows up so early and can really swing these matchups, even with just throwing a shield and a couple autos. Can make the lane a difficult place.
Yeah, it can, and I do want to say that Peanut is one of the 3 junglers that actually plays Ivern in the LCK. He wasn't very popular, even when he was being played sort of all around the world quite a lot. Peanut was one of the guys that does sort of know how this champion works. Him and Canyon played a fair bit of the basketball playing tree guy.
He wasn't great at it, but he did play it.
Yeah, he was one of the first to pick it up.
How are you feeling about the fact this is actually going to be poke Varus as well? Like, their consistent damage is non-existent over on the HLE side. I mean, you have Aurora, poke Varus, and a Gnar. It's like you better kill someone instantly,
it's Viper.
If it's a nameplates on situation, because I was actually expecting, particularly with the Braum, right, at least Halo Blades, but most likely going for the on-hit variety. But I think that it's also an acknowledgement that if he doesn't have any range damage, and again, unless he gets fed, it's going to be hard for him to actually do meaningful damage against all the shielding, the healing, and the Ivern. But without him, they have no range.
Part of my issue with it, though, is when you're playing into Hwei and Ivern, Hwei just throws down the AoE team shield with the WW.
Oh, I know.
Bring up Ivern shield.
I know.
There is a Zenith Blade here from Targamas, as we did see that Vladi went down relatively low. Decent trades, though, as you can see here. Targamas actually avoiding the concussive blows. As Viper hitting that level 2 now. Throws out the hail of arrows, but isn't otherwise going to find too much.
Oh, lethal tempo. Gonna be big there, and that's the heal already being used by Delight.
Yeah, Viper with a cancel auto or 2 there as well. It does feel like HLE sweating a bit, feeling some of that pressure here. it's KC. Sometimes you come in as an underdog and you can just play your best game. You know, you're playing a little bit more relaxed. You're not feeling the kind of onus of that expectation. And KC looking really good in the draft and looking really good again in just these early trades and laning.
Outside of this top lane, where Canna is struggling a little bit into Zeus, but I think we're expecting that early on, not to mention mid lane as well, where Zeka does have almost a wave advantage, as we can see here. It's the jungle that I'm really going to be glued to, is already Yike having a decent lead as Targamas tanks up a turret shot. Not super psyched about that one, but Caliste able to even out these trades really, really well, even getting on top of these cannons, as we can see. And so another thumbs up. Has he been spamming thumbs up on cooldown no matter what the entirety of the last 2 days? I think he has.
Yeah, KC in general have been great about emoting. I always love to see the different emote. Peanut is another notorious emote user. Loves his penguins of different varieties. So always like to see that, as we do have a possible angle. At least some vision being secured here by that duo of Targamas and Yike. And maybe looking towards Zeka.
Yeah, counter gank position here from Peanut as he's moving in, but Yike going to turn up as well. The flash comes out from Zeka, and HLE are just going to be happy that they got out of there.
I actually really like how Targamas played that. He goes in with the initial ignites. You're going to have the reveal even when he goes into the invis, and that's what forces out that immediate flash from Zeka to be able to dodge out from the Ivern Q. Yes, they don't get the kill, but still, you're trading sums as a support with the enemy mid laner. You're relieving pressure on Vladi. Like, look how low health and mana he was, and you're getting him out of that lane, so it's just kind of a huge win all around.
Yep, able to even out things as well with the fact that he was able to crash that lane through at the same time. So really nicely done. He'll teleport back and things will be fine. So alleviating quite a lot. And this top lane is going to continue like this, I think, for quite some time.
Yeah, we did see Canna go, which Zeus has done as well, into ranged matchups. The Vayne obviously being the most notorious one that stands out in a mind, where he had an incredible game. I imagine Canna's also going to go towards Cyclo Sword, particularly in ranged matchups. As Aatrox, you actually, if you ever get to proc that, the lane just feels infinitely better, as we might have an example of that right here.
Yeah. I believe Zeus may have been hit by some electricity.
I did watch his health bar just like half there. But Zeus himself also loves the Aatrox, as we highlighted in Champ Select. So we'll see if he can maintain the pressure on Canna. Yike did get spotted on the ward, so Zeus should be aware, but waving a bit of an awkward spot.
Yeah, Blight finding a point-blank Winter's Bite here, but not going to follow up on anything. Of course, Targamas with no flash is somewhat of a target, but he's still Leona, so probably not something that you can really hope to take down in any quick fashion. And Yike, there is no flash available here for Zeka as he comes out. Crushing Maw going to come on through there as Trigger Seed going to land. But Vladi in a lot of trouble. Zeka not going to walk to the side of that wall. And Yike, no damage with himself alone. So KC just pushed away 1v2.
Yeah, I mean, these ganks have been really good because Vladi has been in a horrible spot both times. Again, he bases with like 5% HP. You know, Zeka, if left in isolation, maybe could have got a kill in either of those situations.
Yeah. And Zeka, I think if he has flash, he probably goes to the play, but Vladi has flash, he doesn't, right? So doesn't go back to try and actually get the execute. The one thing that will happen because of this, with Yike showing mid, is that Peanut will be able to pick up the grubs. And the one thing that we do always talk about with Ivern is that his solo jungle take of epic objectives is just really, really bad. Definitely needs help, so he's looking to make an impact towards bot so that he can free up Caliste and Targamas to help him out, take that objective down.
You can see that they're super aware of this, though. They're playing so far back. You know, Braum only taking the cannon with a Targon charge from max range Q. Like, they are not willing to walk forward. Peanut's top side, no one's contesting there, so where could Ivern be?
I have no idea. Well, actually, we have
compelling mystery, Ezreal.
Not going to be moving on over, though, as Peanut will be face-checking this brush. Throws down a control ward first, though. Intelligent. And Vladi not actually going to be able to take it down.
Yike might be...
Oh, yeah, flash comes out. That's actually a huge deal. We've seen how this lane's been going as Yike forced to flash as well. There is not a lot of those summoner spells left available on the side of KC. And HLE looking like they're pretty angry about what happened in game number 1. Yeah,
that is 2 big flashes, particularly because they're playing into the Aurora. And the big thing there was that Viper and Delight were able to, I assume, get the bounce and have Prio on the roam, right? So Yike has no way of getting over walls unless he can, you know, use his Q to somehow get above. Not the case there. Doesn't actually make his way and has the flash. So not the end of the world, but particularly for stationary targets, this is a big deal because Peanut still has his, and any showing up of the Gnar can also be a much bigger issue.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I do think it was required to spend those summoners. You know, they're going to outscale, so it's okay. The question is, like you say, can you punish those missing summoners, right? You know, the summoners themselves are not the issue. Yike is just here again. They are giving so much help in towards Vladi, really getting him through these early stages. And Vladi is going to hit a point where no longer can Zeka really interact because the waves are just going to die so quickly.
The one big player that does get to benefit from this is Zeus, as Yike tried to go, but Zeus just walks it up. And again, I think that they've been pretty good at creeping track where Yike is, baiting him in. And Zeus has been able to basically just lane in isolation in the 1v1, where obviously the Gnar is going to have a really good time. The Aatrox pick was always both a pick away as well as just a neutralizing pick, as we often see him use, because he gets to lane pretty decently into effectively anything.
And I've always felt like Zeus is just such a confidence player, right? When he is playing really well, he can just play even better. And after a game number 1, you want him to be able to start off strong, to get himself into a good position, to get that swagger back a little bit, so to speak. And now at this point, he's up a good 20 CS. Yes, some of this may be collected by Canna as he runs back to try to get that, but still, Zeus opening up a really strong early advantage.
Do you want to go back to what you said earlier, though? For KC, as long as there are no substantial leads being gained by Hanwha, like 1-2k gold is not going to be enough.
Oh, immediately interrupted. Peanut just going to get root called and might be able to turn this into a grump, but really good disengage here by KC. Something that we were talking about already. Disengage certainly highly available from this composition.
Peanut
still wanting to hang around here as the rest of his friends have kind of left.
Creating pressure. He does have Aurora on the roam, right? They don't know where Zeka actually is, so I think that there's a little bit of hesitation from KC to overextend into that, and looks like Peanut will be rewarded with one
Grom. Hell yeah. Does have his entire top side to go through as well as going through things. It's going to be the wall that he goes through as he heads down towards the Scuttle Crab. And you can see here on this bottom side, it's a slight advantage as Chains of Corruption do fly forward. Caliste, a lot of pressure on him right now as, even that piercing arrow as the flash has to come out. Glacial Fissure following here by Delight. And man, this is an HLE that really are not happy about how game 1 went. I'm getting that confirmed over and over again in this game.
Yeah, I mean, they're looking really strong here. They have opened up that 1.3k gold advantage, and they're going to continue to try to extend that. You're just delaying the bases there time and time again, stepping forward past the tower to be able to do that means it's more minions lost. And both top and bot going pretty rough. You know, yes, Vladi is held even, but Vladi is held even with a lot of help from his team. So that is kind of where they have spent their resources at the cost of these side lanes getting pressured.
Peanut starts it up again. 6 grubs for a Gnar composition would be huge. There's also been, as we talked about, the continuous pressure for Viper and Delight in the spot side. A response is coming through as the swap is there, the TP to follow. I don't think Peanut should be allowed to get all of these. He doesn't have his, or he still has a smite.
They're just not coming to contest though. I mean, you have your bot lane top, but you're just going to let him do it in your face.
Yep, he's still got smite, so Yike might be able to come over and try and contest as far as that is concerned, but that is Peanut just taking it away. 6 grubs, that's feats of strength as well that he's able to pick up because he got all of them.
Yeah, I think a big mistake from K-Corp because you got to imagine that swapping that bot lane towards top was with the explicit reason to deny this very thing, but instead it's gonna go 6 grubs given over there to Hanwha.
And it means you're gonna lose a plate bot. There's no way you're not gonna at least lose that one play here as Viper and Delight gonna be pushing up. Canna do his best.
Oh dear.
See.
It's just not fun, right? You're just stuck alone underneath this turret. The bot lane is on its way back, but that is going to further build upon that gold lead for Hanwha.
Yeah, and they're kind of just behind tempo because now the teleport will have to be spent top for Canna to even be able to answer this wave. Zeus can base and save his, which means for the Dragon, he could have that available. And it's really kind of just spilling over as KC, I guess, just didn't realize that Peanut would be going for the grubs in that situation. End up getting punished pretty heavily.
Yeah, maybe just didn't quite track him correctly. Maybe had a different idea as to where he was on the map. And sometimes these assumptions can lead to pretty catastrophic mistakes. But this is what HLE has been doing to every team so far this tournament. It's been able to catch everyone in these tempo plays that puts you in a tempo vacuum where you just can never find your way back. This is what I was expecting in game number 1, and we'll see whether KC can do a little bit more of what we saw in that first game to try and pull themselves back.
The big thing for me after the previous game, though, is how good the team fighting looked as Targamas.
Yeah, Chains of Corruption smashed into the wall there as well, and he decides to turn it into a bit of an engage because he has nowhere else to go. That's first blood somehow here at 12.5 minutes, going over to Viper. As Caliste going to be pushed out of this one as well, and HLE, they'll take their prize, and they'll keep an even firmer grip on this map.
Yeah, and the real concern here for KC now is just that the advantage is starting to get bigger and bigger. It is not just stabilizing, right? You know, if you're down 2K, you're still kind of chilling if you can keep that at 2K for the next 10 minutes, for the next 15 minutes, but HLE are really starting to push forward, and the fact that they're dominating the objective game puts you on a timeline that you're not necessarily going to be ready for.
It's also the problem of Zeus in side lane, I don't think is ever going to be answered, right? Like, we talk about the scaling. I think when it comes to the 5v5, KC have a lot of compositional advantage.
Yeah.
But that alone is not going to be enough when you have Zeus already sitting at an almost 800 gold lead with 6 grubs.
Yeah, not to mention the fact that a Ivern composition inherently just wants to teamfight. So in a 1-3-1 scenario, you already have a lead just by not being the team with the Ivern, but now you've got Zeus on Gnar, and there is no comfort bigger than Zeus on Gnar. Like, this was his debut champion, and he performed phenomenally even then in his very first game in the LCK. This is his bread and butter, and this is how he plays it. So it's a frightening time here for KC, but they won game 1, right? We can hold on to that.
It's a team fighting, right? That was, for me, KC was doing so much better, particularly with Hanwha's strength being team fighting. So that's something that I think they can still rely on, but it's, again, gold lead, it just keeps on climbing slowly and steadily, and if they're not careful, they are just going to get choked out of this game.
Yeah, but they're not at that position now, definitely. We'll see. It is going to be a Cloud Soul spawning here, which is quite strong. Peanut's going to be able to grab the blue buff, and they should be able to walk off. Gnar just heading back again to topside, just trying to continue hammering home this advantage. And I mean, really at this point, it's tough because normally in these kind of situations, you say, well, the jungler should go up there and relieve some pressure, but because it's an Ivern Aatrox, you have no consistent CC to be able to really guarantee a lockdown and actually make that play happen. So it kind of just ends up being a waste of his time. So he's just kind of playing around the other lanes, and Zeus gets to play, you know, 1v1 here, where Canna is just getting pounded under the tower.
Yeah, 6 grub Gnar is just not a whole lot of fun to deal with if he does get that shove, which he will have the remainder of this game. Trinity Force now in hand. And speaking of item spikes, we have Viper with his Ghost Blade already done and continuing to siege. As we have a look at the MasterCard lane economy snapshot, they forgot to put KCs in there.
We'll need to get that redone. I'm not going to redo the math, but I'm pretty sure they're right. I do want to highlight something we haven't talked about yet, as Zeus should be fine here still. I don't think there's enough people nearby.
Does need to hit this tower a couple of times before he makes his way out, as he flashes, actually. Not sure about that one, as the Gnar into the wall. He hits the Mega as Delight comes over. The redemption coming down, though, as Yike looking to try and protect his top laner. But with Peanut in the area, they might be able to get something done, but Delight is just being given up for the Ghost.
He's dead.
And it looks like KC are going to be able to finally strike back in this game, answering that first blood with a kill of their own.
That's actually huge as well, but they're going to look for Caliste.
Yeah, ulti comes through from Zeka here, as Caliste taking a fair bit of damage, but not going to be hit by everything. Zeka needed to land that other one. Piercing arrow going to go wide there as well as Caliste. I reckon give yourself a bit of a thumbs up there. It's the first time we haven't seen a thumbs up, and that was the most expected one.
I mean, that was a really nice sidestep on a couple of those different spells. Great for Canna to be able to grab a kill there and equalize things somewhat here in that top lane.
Well, Peanut is going to come on over here as the rest of KC looking to try and take down this Rift Guard. It's going to be stolen by Peanut. And he's tanky enough to be able to pick up this Eye and Targamas at the same time. Throws out the Impale for what feels like fun. As the Spiraling Despair comes down, Peanut trying to deliver it to the rest of his teammates. He's blast coned his way out. They managed to pick up what they wanted. And Zeka now looking for maybe a little bit more. Caliste coming on over. But HLE, calm down. You managed to get what you wanted. Now just leave.
I do want to highlight what I wanted to talk about before that whole sequence set off is the fact that Peanut has actually been farming like a demon.
Wow.
Right? The invades came through. The one thing with Ivern is that obviously his early clear is insanely fast, but there are a lot of junglers that, as you know, the game continues, he does eventually get outpaced. I just didn't really expect Skarner to be one of them, and I think the consistent invades are a big deal. As Zeus.
Yeah, looking a little bit aggressive towards Canna. But the line not going to be able to get in.
Engage Braum just doesn't quite fight the Aatrox.
I mean, that was actually a really important Q hit there from Canna to be able to lock him in the chains, because if he gets out of the chains there, maybe there's an angle to try to chase him down, you know, scoop him back with the Gnar into the Braum, and then you are in trouble. But always difficult if you have to use that Aatrox ulti to retreat. The only real recourse you have is to threaten an all-in this kind of matchup, and without that, you can't threaten it.
And not getting these early Drakes, I think, is a really big deal, because if you got a Drake, I think as Hanwha or as a K-Corp, you just sack the next fight, right? Like, it feels like right now the gold lead is really big. Again, it's just shy of 5k gold. That's some big item finishes that are there. The Serpent's Fang already here for Viper. But that's Soul Point on Cloud Soul that you're giving up. And the one issue that I do think the Hanwha Life Comp have, as mentioned, I think their engage is pretty lackluster. If they are zooming across the entirety of the Rift, that's not going to matter nearly as much.
No.
While I'm never really a fan of giving up Soul Point for free like that, I don't think they're in a position
So that's
to
my
fight.
point.
You have to,
like,
yeah.
I don't think they can.
They can't.
Bounties are up. They didn't even get the bounty gold on the Herald because Pina just kind of walked up and stole it.
Yeah, wandered in there. KC, now with Canna being able to farm relatively safely from behind his dead turret, but like you were saying, bounties are up. That spells disaster here for KC at this stage of the game. They're not out of it just yet, but it looks like a circling of the drain is what's kind of occurring here. And the thing that's really dangerous and worrying is that this is the Ivern game. You don't get another one of these, right? It's fearless. And this is one that they should definitely be winning, right? That's what you'd expect. This is their ace in the hole. Not quite working out, although it might be enough to kill Zeus. Like you were saying, see whether he can crush his way out of it. There's enough CC here as Vladi is getting the same treatment as the Glacial Fissure, almost what finishes him off there, as Zeus will get taken down as well. Peanut, in the meantime, though, is looking for that Soul Point that we were talking about. The rest of HLE on that bottom side able to take down an inner turret. And I think sacrificing Zeus is probably okay.
It's an acknowledgement of what we're saying, right? KC just say, guys, we can't fight for the Dragon. There's just no way. The fact that Vladi dies is really rough. You would really have liked for him to stay alive, because this play towards the top side, I think, is just the cross map that you look for because you already know you're going to lose the Dragon. The fact that Vladi then dies is really rough.
I mean, and Vladi, that's his mistake. This is not an outplay. This is a misplay. You know exactly. You know 4 people are going top. You know that the Herald has been summoned on the bot side. You just need to back off and hold the inhibitor tower. But instead, he tried to step forward. He loses his flash, which also means the next fight there is that much harder. And it's definitely a costly error there from Vladi, because you're already losing the tier 2 and you're going 1-for-1 plus the Dragon. HLE are just going to continue looking to push the pace here, and we'll see if KC can find that one stabilization fight that could get them to late game. Because if they can find that, yes, it's going to be hard to, but if they can still win through their scaling.
They also were able to shrink the gold lead a little bit, I assume, by the shutdown that they got onto Zeus.
Yep.
So that is something that they can look towards. Yike also now having the 2-item power spike on the Ivern, insanely strong, as the Moonstone. This Viper takes a bit of damage, but the question becomes, do you think you can win a team fight as KC in 4 minutes? And with how Hanwha have been playing, it's so different from really, I think, almost any game we've seen of the tournament thus far. They are pulling back the tempo so much to just not allow KC any weird skirmish, any overload on the side of the map that Hanwha Life isn't ready for, compared to game number 1, where they were much more happy to scrap. And we saw how that one ended.
Yeah, this feels like,
it's 4 kills.
Yeah, it feels like Dandy just said to them, no more fun, we're winning. You've got to do your homework. You've got to make sure that all the ducks are in a row. And it's not about having fun, it's about controlling the map.
The ducks are innate.
Yeah, and when Dandy's talking about ducks, that's when you know.
That's real.
That's
scary.
Things are really looking dire for the players here. At least that's what Mowgli told me that one time. And he might have been joking, Aatrox has been started up down to 9k, as we can see here. Daisy coming out.
It is slow.
Yeah. She is going to try and assess what's going on. True Shot Barrage does give that information over, and Daisy is sacrificed.
Oh, Zeka standing guard. The poke is landing.
How are you supposed to engage here, as Between Worlds come down at any moment? Caliste moving in now. The flanking Ezreal is not the scariest, as there's the wallop from Zeus to slow them down. Yeah, they're looking for this, but I don't know about it. It's down to 1,000, as there goes the Aatrox, and it's voracious. So we've got some second lives here for HLE. They decide not to go more aggressive. And HLE now with a whole lot of extra power in the next couple of skirmishes.
And as soon as Zeus TPs, I think you just let it go, right? Like the fact that they're also investing Canna's TP there, the fact that they're looking, even after all the poke lands, still to try and aggressively contest this, I think is going to really hurt them. Giving up the buff is rough because, again, I think
I like the rhyme.
it makes it so much easier for Hanwha Life to set up for that soul point fight. Yeah. But the alternative is you lose resources, and otherwise maybe you get that topside turret, you get the bounty call that's associated with that. And that could have been, I think, a much more safer play because now, well invested, not a lot found.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I agree. And you just need to play for as much gold as possible, get strong for that soul fight, because the soul is kind of that deadline. That's where you can't give anything else up. KC have been trying to overload the side lanes, trying to pick on Zeus, which I do think is a good option when you're behind, but they don't really have the most explosive engage, and Zeus is very difficult to actually catch out and knock down when they do kill him. HLE are always getting more on the other side of the map, which has really been the problem, as they're just losing more and more jungle camps and always getting shoved in.
Well, some weirding being thrown around here by Zeka as he looks to try and lock down Caliste, but not actually going to be able to do so. And this is something that we were scared of, right? It's the side lane play, the fact that HLE do have the ability to split up the map. And Zeus being over there, forcing KC to play outside of where this composition really does thrive. Problem is that they sort of don't thrive anywhere with how far behind they have now become. 5,000 gold as Peanut looks to try and pick up Caliste, not able to do so. Arcane Shift going to be there, but the inner turret still going to be falling down. Daisy getting aggressive, the Spiraling Despair is there as well, and Zeus going down rather low. Remember, Otacon still up and available, so they have the ability to recall. Still going to be gold going over. This is the thing, you can play with a whole lot more reckless abandon, and they don't even lose any of them.
Yeah, and I kind of like the aggression there. Try to force out some cooldowns, see if you can get summoners prior to this dragon fight, because the Otacon buff is going to expire before that dragon comes up. So if you just push aggressively, hope you get a flash, hope you get some ultimates or something that wouldn't be available. KC doesn't really overreact. They do use a couple ultis, but no summoners lost or anything like that.
They're just not letting them play the game. Hanwha Life haven't given up a single turret yet.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of standing gold, there's a lot of bounties still being doled out across the map. As KC, it looks like they made the call. They are still going to contest. Viper very far ahead. Zeus doesn't quite have his second item yet. So KC, maybe this is the opportunity they needed. There's a deep TP there from Zeka.
That's kind of crazy, actually. The minion wave is going to spot him.
They will see him.
Yeah. But now with that information, what are they going to do with it? That's the real question. The remaining four going to be, the 5 members of KC all moving back as a unit. Make it 6 as Daisy comes out. Zeka moving over. They are splitting this one up. Canna taking a big chunk from Zeka here, who is really playing with the amount of gold that he does have. He cuts through Canna quite effectively. Piercing arrows being thrown out. That range that we were talking about from Viper, really a factor here. As there's the Hex Flash in from Targamas, but he's melting! They kind of ignore him here as he gets stunned up. Chains of Corruption do go wide though, as Delight taking a lot of damage, but the poke, the artillery fire here from Viper is just ludicrous, and Caliste getting thrown out of the battle. Zeus still extremely healthy. As Zeka on this flank angle, and they will be able to take the soul, but one more can they get? Exactly right, Zeka finding almost everyone with that one, as down goes Vladi. Canna just realizing that someone will have to die. It may as well be him, as Zeka gets another one in the fight. That'll be Seoul as well, and the shutout continues from HLE.
And KC are the ones to pull the trigger, and we talk about the lack of engagement on Hanwha Life. Well, guess what? Engaging into the Braum, and Skarner isn't going to do it either. It's understandable. They don't want to give up the objective, but Targamas just gets fully segmented up by the light. Caliste doesn't actually get to join the fight, and at this point, the health bars are already blown up.
Yeah, I think they decided to go because they saw the Gnar on that ward walking over to the red buff, so they're saying, okay, Zeus isn't here, maybe we can force. It's always going to be a risky play, but when it's onto the Braum, it's just not going to happen. And then Zeus just kind of going behind them. Zeka doing a great job, keeping them interested, buying so much time for the Gnar to arrive there, clean up the kills, take the soul. And as we go back to live, we know they can start playing around Baron very easily now. And Zeus, if it was hard to stop in the side lane before, now he's going to be so damn fast.
Yeah, it's impossible. He does have his Hysterics now completed. You were talking about the fact that that second item hadn't been done. Well, now it has. And I want to say, the one thing that I'm learning from this is that Aurora can actually be good. Vedius was explaining to me in our first cast that this champion is just not that great.
I was with him.
Yeah.
I think Aurora's thus far have just not looked great.
And Zeka is looking really, really good. And this is not his flavor of champion either. As Peanut looking aggressive, finds the Impale. They're happy to just grab any target as Daisy and Targamas both going down in unison. And Zeus is just zoning everyone away. Yike segmented off as well. He'll just explode. Concussive blows holding him in place. And HLE, I mean, we call them the orange tank for a reason, but they are lumbering towards the enemy nexus, and there is nothing stopping them.
Yeah, they get that kill. They know they just need Yike, and then the Baron is going to be free, and they can even go for Vladi at the same time. He gets tagged.
Yeah, Winter's Bite coming on through there as there's the stun, and Vladi going to be taking a lot of damage. Does manage to almost kill Zeus.
To make it look close.
Yeah, as his health bar doesn't move because he hits Mega Gnar at exactly the right time. I'm tilted on his behalf.
Yeah, when the engage Braum plays where like the light first flashed over the Raptor pit to ensure that Zeus could get it in, and then just dives a turret. You know the game, unfortunately, is cooked, and it's what we said earlier, right, in the draft, where if KC is able to keep it close, they've been fine, but it really felt like Hanwha Life, starting at the early laning phase, just kept slowly building advantage upon advantage, and then by the time we got to the final fight, just wasn't anything that they could really do.
And this is kind of more what you expect when you're playing against HLE, because they have such strong individual laners that a jungler is going to get pulled all over the map trying to help everyone at the same time, and you just can't be everywhere. In this game, Targamas and Vladi put so much effort, or excuse me, Targamas and Yike put so much effort into helping Vladi that it meant Canna was kind of just left out on his own, getting no assistance. And Zeus is wise to their tricks. There's 3 members pushing top. No one's there, so Zeus knows.
Yeah.
Is he wise?
Enough, maybe.
Well, he is now moving the wrong direction.
Is
this the right direction? Yeah, Cloud Soul is also just kind of obscene.
He's fine.
As, yeah, Caliste is the one that's in trouble as the Impale comes through. Zeka there for the follow-up damage, and this Ezreal nowhere he can go, and Zeus turns it into an engage opportunity onto Vladi. That's, I think, demonstrating just how far behind KC are this game. As they'll move up towards this inhibitor on the top side, the base just in ruins. As HLE, I think they're done here with game number 2. They're going to make it a best of 3 as they take down the second. As KC, pretty happy. They have that 1-game buffer. They can use this as an opportunity to go back to the drawing board and figure something else out. But this one was all HLE all the time. And this team looks real angry with dropping a game in this series.
Yeah, Nexus, I think, ends up falling to mostly minions, as that felt personal. They're in the fountain.
I mean, you saw Zeus actually still sitting in his seat there as well. He's like, I just want to get into the next game as well. I think that first game really did hit him.
9 towers to 0. I don't think they gave up a single objective, only gave over 2 kills. That was domination.
Yeah, that's a difficult one. That is definitely a difficult one. This HLE are absolutely terrifying, but have you heard? You can subscribe to LOL Esports on Twitch now to support your favorite teams. Use custom emotes and go ad-free on Twitch. Regular subscribers are also rewarded with the Have You Heard in-game emote. And we'll be back for Game 3 right after the break. We'll see you there.